जाते को भूषण जगर्जन दुःखजा नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमना नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातिक मनोवचनै काधा प्रभु मनोवचनै काधा ज्योतिर ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर ज्योतिर ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर तुम्हें तमो भंजन प्रभु तुम्हें तमो भंजन नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनादित नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनादित मनोवचनैका प्रभु मनोवचनैका ज्योतिर ज्योति मुझल हृदय कंदर ज्योतिर ज्योति मुझल हृदय कंदर तुम्हें तमो भंजन प्रभु तुम्हें तमो भंजन रंग रंग बाजे अंग संग मृदं रंग रंग बाजे अंग संग मृदं गायचे छंद मकतरंद आरते तोमा गायचे छंद मकतरंद आरते तोमा जय जय आरते तोमा हर हर आरते तोमा शिव शिव आरते तोमा खंडन भव बंधन महाराज जी की जय। तोम चलो गुणाचे गुणेभ्यः नक्तं देवं सकरुणं तव पाद पद्मं मोहं कषं बहुकृतं न भजे यतोऽहं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीन बन्धो भक्तिर्भगश्च भजनं भवभेदकारी गच्छन्त्यलं सुविपुलं गमनाय तत्त्वं वक्त्रोद्धृतोऽपि हृदये न मे भाति किञ्चित् तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं ते तरसा त्वयि तृष्णाः रागे कृते ऋतपथे त्वयि राम कृष्णे मर्त्यामृतं तव पदं मरणोर्मे नाशं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो कृत्यं करोति कलुषं कुहकान्तकारी स्नान्तं शिवं सुविमलं तव नाम नाथ यस्मादहं त्वशरणो जगदेकगम्या तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्म स्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। ॐ नमः श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। ॐ नमः श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। ॐ नमः श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणे नमोस्तुते। सृष्टि स्थिति विनाशानां शक्ति भूते सनातनी गुणाशये गुणमये नारायणे नमोस्तुते शरणागत दीनार्त परित्राण परायणे सर्वस्यार्थे हरे देवी नारायणे नमोस्तुते जय 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 महामाये की जय जय भगवान श्री रामकृष्ण देव की जय जय स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय जय स्वामी ब्रह्मानंद महाराज जी की जय। सर्वधर्मस्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्म स्वरूपकः सर्वधर्म स्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्म स्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः रामकृष्णाय ते नमः यथाग्ने दाहिका शक्ति रामकृष्णे स्थिता हिया यथाग्ने दाहिका शक्ति रामकृष्णे स्थिता हिया सर्वविद्या स्वरूपान्ता शारदा प्रणमाम्यहम् शारदा प्रणमाम्यहम् परतत्त्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्ण समाज्ञया परतत्त्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्ण समाज्ञया यो धर्मस्थापनरतो वीरेशं तं नमाम्यहम् वीरेशं तं नमाम्यहम् कालिन्दे फुल्लकमाले माधवेन क्रीडारत कालिन्दे फुल्लकमाले माधवेन क्रीडारत ब्रह्मानन्द नमस्तुभ्यं सद्गुरु लोकनायक सद्गुरु लोकनायक योगानन्द प्रेमानन्द शान्ये वैयेष पाशदा योगानन्द प्रेमानन्द शान्ये वैयेष पाशदा रामकृष्ण गत प्राणा सर्वान्तान् प्रणमाम्यहम् सर्वान्तान् प्रणमाम्यहम् सर्वान्तान् प्रणमाम्यहम्. Today is the auspicious birth anniversary of Swami Brahmananji Maharaj. On this occasion, Swami Vidyanathanji Maharaj will give us discourse on the life and teachings of Swami Brahmananji Maharaj.
स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Today is the Holy Janmatithi of Swami Brahmananji Maharaj, and we will dwell on his life a little bit in the time allocated. Ramakrishna used to regard him as his spiritual son. This particular expression, in all candor, is probably beyond our comprehension. But if we try to understand what that statement means, then all that can happen is that it will be to our benefit. If we make a sincere attempt to understand this particular expression, then the mind gets tuned towards the reality that Sri Ramakrishna was, and hence we'll have a better understanding of what exactly spiritual son of him means. This will be the point on which we are going to dwell in the next few minutes. So, we start with his, so he was born on January 21st, 1863, a few days after Swami Vivekananda was born. As a child, there's a few incidents that are there which we'll go over quickly. As a child, he was fond of two hobbies, one of which was fishing, the other was gardening, and these habits remained with him till the end. The first thing that we'll dwell on is when he came to Sri Ramakrishna for the first time. And there is a certain difference in emphasis, not in essence, but in difference in emphasis between the attitude and the spiritual fervor that was demonstrated in the life of Swami Vivekananda and that which is demonstrated in the life of Swami Brahmananda. And it is important to understand this difference to some extent, because it gives us two highly spiritually evolved souls who were deeply fond of each other, brothers. But at the same time, the expression in spiritual life was very different. And if we try to understand this difference carefully, we'll be able to understand a particular statements that Sri Ramakrishna made in somewhat mystical language, but if you demystify it, you get at the essence of it. Sri Ramakrishna's assessment of what paths these two belong to. And in a specific point, Sri Ramakrishna had said about Swamiji that Narendra khub uchu akhander ghar, means that which is the undivided self-same consciousness. This is what Vedanta emphasizes, and that was the natural temperament of Swami Vivekananda. On the other hand, he had said about Swami Brahmanji that his is the tendency or temperament of a devotee of God with form. We utter these words casually and feel that there is really a substantial difference between them. But if we study these two great personalities, Swami Brahmanji and Swami Vivekananda, then we see where exactly these two aspects, apparently contradictory, can be synthesized. Getting back to our initial theme of Swami Brahmananda as the spiritual son, it all starts with a few mystical statements by Sri Ramakrishna. So once he prayed to the Divine Mother, Mother, I want someone to be my constant companion. Bring me a boy who is pure-hearted and intensely devoted to you. This was something that Sri Ramakrishna had prayed for. Subsequently, he had a vision. A few days later, he saw in a mystic vision a boy standing under the banyan tree in the temple grounds. On another occasion, the same boy appeared to him in a different manner. To quote the Master's own words, a few days before Rakhal came to me, Mother placed a little boy on my lap and said, "This is your son." At first, I was startled. My son? Mother smiled at this and made me understand that I was not to have a son in the ordinary sense, but that this boy would be my spiritual son, one who would live up to the highest ideal of renunciation. Yet another vision. A few moments before Rakhal actually arrived, he had another vision. Suddenly he saw 100-petaled lotus blooming on the bosom of the Ganges, each of its petals shining with exquisite loveliness. On the lotus, two boys were dancing with anklets on their feet. One of them was Sri Krishna himself. The other was the same boy he had seen in his earlier vision. Their dance was indescribably beautiful. Every movement they made seemed to splash foam, as it were, from an ocean of sweetness. Sri Ramakrishna was lost in ecstasy. Just then, a boat arrived carrying Manomohan and Rakhal. Manomohan was Rakhal's relative. Sri Ramakrishna looked at Rakhal in bewilderment. What is this? He thought to himself. Here is the boy I saw standing under the banyan tree. Here is the boy Mother placed in my lap. Here is the boy I saw just now dancing on the lotus with Sri Krishna. This is the pure-hearted companion I prayed for to Mother. So there are these earlier visions, and there's this moment of instant recognition that this is the person who is going to bear his legacy. Sri Ramakrishna regarded Rakhal for a few moments in silence. Then he smilingly remarked to Manomohan, "There are wonderful possibilities to this boy." Asked him, "What is your name?" And Rakhal answered, "Rakhal Chandra Ghosh." Hearing the name Rakhal, Sri Ramakrishna was deeply excited and muttered to himself, "Rakhal, the shepherd boy of Vrindavan, the playmate of Sri Krishna." Then in a sweet, affectionate voice, he said, "Come and see me again." This is from Sri Ramakrishna's point of view. He recognizes, because see, the thing is, very often, and I think this is a point to be stressed. Swami Brahmananda was not one given to, in later years, not one who was particularly fond of giving lectures. He seldom even gave spiritual advice. It was this quiet, unpretentious living of a life that inspired those around him. If there was a legacy, it was basically a lived legacy. Very often, we conflate spirituality or spiritual life with either a theological superstructure, which means basically people keep essentially some kind of stories that we read in the Puranas or something like that. Oh, this is Ravana has 10 heads. Well, which head symbolizes what, etc., etc. And these are all symbolisms, and then we start taking them literally and analyzing them and making some kind of a explanation based on these stories. This is a theological aspect. Alternately, there is a more precise aspect which is more of an intellectual thing when we get into philosophies of religion and then try to understand what those show. Both of these are at a certain level mere intellectual exercises. The first, which means the emphasis on stories, etc., etc., if it is not backed by deep devotion to an ideal, essentially a movement of the refined feeling aspect of our minds towards a goal, if it is not backed by this core matter of the heart, then all these theological discussions are completely futile. In the same way, the intellectual trappings of philosophy, if they are not backed by a core dispassion for ephemeral things of the world and a sharp analytic intellect which penetrates deeper to the core of truths, with this love of truth as its guiding motive, then it is just husk, it's just some words covering nothing, no core subjective movement towards reality. What then is the core, either in the more mystical side or in the more analytical side? The core in the first is this intense love of something which is deep and beautiful. This is the aspect which is emphasized in Swami Brahmananda's life. And this deep love of truth with this sharp intellect, the faculty of Viveka, is what manifests in Swami Vivekananda's life. It is here only that the difference, if it be called so, lies. What point is it then they synthesize, that they get unified? It is when we understand that this love of joy or bliss or beauty, Ananda, and truth or Sat, these are really the obverse and reverse of the same coin. The pursuit of truth gives joy. The pursuit of pure joy leads one to truth. Once we recognize this, then these differences that we saw in temperament merge into a common aspiration, which is what defines both these personalities. And it is important to understand this point of harmony, this point of synthesis, because without that, we fall into one of these more superficial camps, either theological, guided by personal devotion or devotion to a personal ideal, or intellectual ratiocination without progressing by means of an inward directed intellect, which means getting caught in philosophical speculation rather than moving forward. It's only when we strip away this external garb and get to what is it that these people who are practicing are trying to go towards, that we find the synthesis. So, and it's only a person like Sri Ramakrishna who understands the inner essence of both these paths, that one is capable of guiding two apparently very disparate personalities towards the common goal, following their own paths. So, one particular fundamental statement of Sri Ramakrishna, which he held on to throughout his life, is not to disturb anybody's bhava. Bhava means the core attitude with which one has a hold on the highest reality. And depending on one's mental progress, this attitude starts evolving till it finally gets a more comprehensive view of reality. But if one is hindered there, given whatever our conditioning of the mind, our limitations, we are forced to catch hold of reality in some particular way given by our mental attitudes. But if somebody puts a spoke in the wheel there and say, no, this is not the right attitude, you should do this, that and the other, then what one is doing is disturbing the central attitude of the person. And this is one thing that Sri Ramakrishna forbids us to do. Okay. Subsequent to his first meeting with Sri Ramakrishna, his heart was filled with a great... So now we come to Raja Maharaja, Swami Brahmananda's attitude after he meets Sri Ramakrishna for the first time. He went back to home and to school, but could not forget his visit to the master. Sri Ramakrishna filled all his thoughts and he was impatient to see him again. And when he goes to meet the master again, he responds, why didn't you come back to me sooner? I have been waiting for you. He looked at the master and felt that same ecstatic joy. See, this is really, again, this is a young person, deeply spiritually talented, endowed, who is moving towards his goal. What is the expression used? Felt the same ecstatic joy. Look at the corresponding thing in Swami Vivekananda, you will see that the overall emphasis is towards truth. Even after having been the beloved of Sri Ramakrishna, he does not accept a statement till he examines it and is convinced of its truth. These are starting points, but there is a sincere hold on some fundamental value. Here in Swami Brahmananda's life, it is ecstatic joy. In Swami Vivekananda's, it is truth above everything else. From that day onward, the relationship between these two was established. Rakhal saw in Ramakrishna father, mother and God. Ramakrishna saw in Rakhal the divine child. This beauty and ecstatic joy essentially manifests itself in terms of relationships between one human being and another. This is something we need to appreciate when we try to understand a deeply evolved personality like Swami Brahmananda. So Sri Ramakrishna's comments are something like this. He used to tell his intimate disciples, no words can describe Rakhal's spiritual mood during that period. He was living in a state of ecstasy most of the time. He was like a little child, helpless in its mother's arms and surrendering itself completely to her, always conscious of the divine relationship. This is the fundamental point. Always conscious of the divine relationship. This relationship, it's essentially what is it that relates one person to another? Essentially a certain sense of unity. What has happened here is that there's a personal God, in this case, the deity or the object of one's adoration, and then there's the subject or the individual, and what goes between these two is a relationship. What is happening here is that this person is fully aware of this relationship which holds these two together, and that covers and colors the whole mind, removing from it the presence of anything else that could dilute or be some kind of an adulteration. Mark, the one thing that is important in all this, always conscious. Again, if we want to try to understand this from a more analytical point of view, always means unconditioned by time. One. And anywhere he goes, which means the scope for division or fragmentation of the mind is lost. How? Because of this relationship that is there with one always. The more abstract, again, pitching it against Swami Vivekananda's attitude of the Vedantin, it feels identical not with any individual, but with all individuals. There is no preference for a specific individual, but the reality. I mean, because it's a sharp analytical tool, that mind, it cuts through all the specifics of a personality and goes to the essence of it and sees that self-same essence in every being. This is the key difference between the personal attitude and the impersonal attitude. Okay. Always conscious of the divine relationship. And when he was near me, this is Ramakrishna speaking, I also was transported into a higher spiritual consciousness. I used to play with him just as Yasoda, the divine mother, played with her divine child, Krishna. See, the thing is, we as human beings need a certain fulfillment of various faculties that we have. There are those who are driven more by human relationships. For them, when it gets refined, one gets to the essence of that human relationship, which is between one person and another, and something at its core. This is the attraction towards a personal God that is being talked about here. All right. After he starts living with Sri Ramakrishna, the fervor, the spiritual fervor in Swami Brahmananda starts flowering. And he gains this, he had asked Sri Ramakrishna for a vision of the transcendental realm. You see, here is the key point. The entry is through a relationship with an individual. But what is the quest, even in somebody who is this kind of a devotee? He is seeking the transcendental realm. Which means, at its very inception, you see that this feeling of ecstatic joy which brought him to the spiritual path is urging him to get to the essence of that subjective feeling of ecstatic joy, which is truth. And this is what he is being referred to as the transcendental realm. So, whether one comes to this path through an analytical way or through a devotional path, it invariably leads one to the same goal that's being emphasized here. He had been seeking this kind of a transcendental vision. And then he gets it a few days later, while massaging his master's feet. Rakhal suddenly lost his external senses and was transported into that transcendental realm which he had longed to experience. And now, see, he has already gained this idea that there is truth in this personal relationship. What started off with a personal relationship has now given him at least a conviction or a vision of that which is transcendent behind this personal relationship. He has grasped that there is truth in it, though he came to it from a personal point of view. And then there is this very interesting, and which is why we are trying to compare and contrast the attitudes of Swami Brahmananda and Swami Vivekananda. This is the one time there was probably some disagreement, and it's important to understand this, to understand the difference and synthesis between these two paths. Naren, Vivekananda, met Sri Ramakrishna about 6 months after Rakhal's arrival. Rakhal and Naren were happy to be together again at the feet of their master. But one day, Naren was shocked when he saw Rakhal follow Sri Ramakrishna into the temple of Mother Kali and prostrate before the image. Why is he so shocked? And then he says, he remembered how both of them used to go to the Brahmo Samaj. And in the Brahmo Samaj, one of the things that was a criterion for entering there was to sign a statement saying that they would not be involved in worshipping images. He remembered how Rakhal had signed the pledge of the Brahmo Samaj, promising not to worship images or forms of God. What is being shocked in Narendranath? What he is feeling shocked at is, how can somebody commit oneself to a statement and then overturn it? But at what level? See, somebody has pledged that they believe this worship of images is something false, not true, and therefore one has pledged oneself to the non-worship of images. And here he is seeing somebody, no, he's just directly flouting that and going and worshipping an image. So, what is being offended in Narendranath is this sense of truth. You've given word and you're going against it. At the first opportunity, Naren reminded Rakhal of his promise and reproached him bitterly for indulging in image worship. Narendranath was never one for subtlety in this particular sense. He saw that something was violating truth, come down like a ton of bricks. Rakhal was silent. How could he ever make Naren understand what he had experienced through the Master's grace? Yet, he could not argue the matter. See, what has happened here is something very simple. There is a subjective experience that Swami Brahmananda has had, which has trumped this little deed that he has signed. Now, if you try to express that in words, finally, this subjective experience, if it is put in words, then it comes to the same level as an argument. And you cannot possibly win an argument against a point of view that takes this unflinching stance on truth. And that's exactly what Vivekananda's stance is. It's given word, I shall not violate it, come what may. What has happened really is Vivekananda's ultimate love is truth above everything else. And here, in this person, Swami Brahmananda, it is this ecstatic joy that he has experienced. What is the ultimate value that one is seeking? This is a difference. Who has to intervene? who is going to be the arbiter of this conflict between these two great souls, both of them young boys at that stage. Yet he could not argue the matter. So for a few days, Rakhal avoided Naren, and Naren would not speak to Rakhal. So the arbiter comes in, person who has to resolve this dispute. Who can resolve this dispute? It's only a person who understands the essence of both these paths. This intense love of truth at its purest, and a person going towards God through ecstatic joy. It's only in a person these two things coexist, can understand the difference and resolve it. Sri Ramakrishna noticed this. And when he learned the reason for the quarrel, he talked affectionately to Naren and made him realize that Rakhal was not responsible for the change in his attitude towards images. After that, the boys became friends again. Look at the way it's resolved. He is not arguing with Naren, but is appealing to something that is fundamentally human in the person. That look, it's something beyond his control, beyond this person's control, that has caught hold of him. And the person who had signed that document is no longer the person today. And but if we are to look at it from a more down-to-earth point of view, it's the same person who has signed who is now behaving in this other way. To Narendra's mind, it becomes an act of lack of integrity. Not an act of honesty. Sign off something and then violate it. But from the subjective point of Swami Brahmananda, he is basically saying that, look, there is something so much deeper, so much greater that I have caught hold of by the Master's grace through this personal worship. How am I going to explain it to him? And so, Ramakrishna comes in, does not argue with Narendra, just tells him that, look, he is now very fond of this other path. It is something beyond him. He is not responsible for this change of mood. So Narendra's basic argument, and it again appeals to the logic and the sense of justice in Narendra. If a person is not responsible for a certain change, how can you hold that person to court? Yeah? You can't hold a person responsible for something that he is not responsible for. That's all that is being said here. But it required as Ramakrishna to communicate that truth to him. And then the dispute resolves. Okay. But that does not mean that truth can possibly be compromised. This brings us to the next event in Swami Brahmananda's life. Never happens in Swami Vivekananda's because this is a natural and unflinching hold on truth. If a person is going through this path of ecstatic devotion, it is not an excuse to compromise with truth. This is what is the next lesson that Sri Ramakrishna gives Swami Brahmananda. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, the virtue of truthfulness is most important. If a man always speaks the truth and holds to the truth tenaciously, he will realize God. For God is truth. I prayed to the Divine Mother saying, Mother, here is knowledge, here is ignorance. Take them both and give me pure love for you. Here is purity, here is impurity. Take them both and give me pure love for you. Here is good, here is evil. Take them both and give me pure love for you. All duality is gone. And then there's a caveat. But I could not say, Here is truth, here is untruth, take them both. Why? And then in a different book in Swami Saradananda's Leela Prasanga, the great master, he explains that look, if this was given, then where will this statement, I have given mother my all, where can it rest? It has to rest on truths. If truth is given away, then that statement has nowhere, no place, no adhara. And therefore truth cannot be given away, basically because it is the bedrock of our existence. And this, who was a greater devotee in terms of his day-to-day practice than Sri Ramakrishna? But see that this love of truth trumps even that. And so, he teaches this to Rakhal. One day, Sri Ramakrishna said to Rakhal, I can't look at you. I see a veil of ignorance over your face. Tell me, have you done anything wrong? Rakhal was greatly troubled. No matter how hard he tried, he could not remember having done anything wrong. But then, Sri Ramakrishna diagnoses the malady. Try to recall, Sri Ramakrishna said to his disciple, if you have told any untruth. Rakhal at once remembered and admitted that he had recently told a lie in a joking way to a friend. This is a casual statement, not strictly true, that he has uttered as a child, as a young boy. But even that has not escaped the eyes of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna forgave him, but said, never do it again. To speak the exact truths always is a most important spiritual discipline. Why? Because if we cover it up, what are we doing? We are essentially forcing the mind to go after that which is false. When this claim that we are actually spiritual seekers, hence seekers of God, hence seekers of truth, itself becomes covered, becomes compromised. Therefore, this central commitment to truth, independent of whether one is following a path of analysis, jnana, there of course it is what one holds on to, or a path of devotion. A path of devotion is not an excuse for untruthfulness in daily life. That's being emphasized. The other thing, and this is again, in Swami Brahmananda's life, I think hopefully we will come to it, the fervor and commitment that he had for spiritual practice, traditional spiritual practice, meditation, etc., was something that was palpable and transparent. But there was a period, and this is something that happens to all of us, where that practice runs dry. And he was not feeling that enthusiasm for practice any longer. Sri Ramakrishna notices this. Says, you must never neglect your meditation on that count. Make up your mind to practice spiritual disciplines, then the enthusiasm will come naturally. Those who are farmers by birth and occupation do not and cannot give up farming just because the crops fail. This crop failing metaphor is important. We expect that out of our meditation practice, we will have this joy, peace, etc., etc., and then start drawing away from it once we are not getting it. Yes, that's the crop. But what is my job? My job is to keep tilling the soil. Sometimes there will be other external factors, rains, fertility of the soil, which will prevent the crop from happening. That's not good enough reason to stop tilling. That's all that is being said here. So you must not give up meditation even though you may not get any apparent results. You must be regular in your practice. followed up by another great experience that Rakhal was there. A few days after this, Rakhal was sitting absorbed in meditation in the hall of the temple, experiencing an ecstatic joy. Sri Ramakrishna approached him in ecstasy and gave him a special mantram for his own use. Look, said the master, there is your chosen ideal. Rakhal, in ecstatic vision, saw his chosen aspect of the Godhead standing before him, living and luminous, with a smile playing on his lips. When Rakhal regained his external consciousness and saw Sri Ramakrishna, he prostrated at his feet with loving devotion. He had known and experienced the divine power and grace of his Guru. Sri Ramakrishna returned to his room and Rakhal became once more absorbed in meditation. We have stressed this difference and synthesis, unity and differences between these two great spiritual sons, Naren and Rakhal of Sri Ramakrishna. Let's hear what Sri Ramakrishna himself has to say about it. Naren, Rakhal and a few others, this is Sri Ramakrishna himself saying this. Naren, Rakhal and a few others belong to the class of the ever-perfect, Nitya Siddha. They are born with God knowledge. As they begin to grow up, they realize the emptiness of earthly pleasures. The Vedas tell us of a bird called the Homa. This bird lives high in the sky. It never comes down to earth. It's a mythical bird. It lays its eggs in midair, but at such a great height that the eggs hatch while still falling. The little bird comes out and finds itself dashing down towards the earth. When it sees the ground rushing to meet it, it soars up and rejoins its mother in the sky. Boys like Rakhal resemble the Homa. From the earliest childhood, they see the emptiness of the world and their one thought is how to reach God. Again, it's this particular fervor for ecstatic joy that is the driving motive of Swami Brahmananda's life. Does that mean then this is an inner core of that being around which his life gets built? But then we see in the context of this organization, the Ramakrishna Mission, he was its first president. And as we see around us, one of the fundamental things that guide our organization is the service aspect. Is this aspect not there in Swami Brahmananda? How does it come through? So that needs to be seen. And here again, it's the relationship between Swami Vivekananda and him that comes to the fore. In the course of a conversation, Sri Ramakrishna tells Narendranath, Rakhal has the keen intelligence of a king. If he chose, he could rule a kingdom. Immediately, Narendranath picks up the hint. He spoke of Rakhal's greatness to the other brothers and says, from today, we shall call Rakhal Raja, our king. When Sri Ramakrishna heard Rakhal's new name, Raja, he joyfully approved. This is the inception of the work aspect in Swami Brahmananda's life. Quietly, without any ostentation, without any pretension, he is guiding the whole stream which the organization is. This is what presidents of our order do. Yeah? And this is the first president. So he's setting the mold. The person from whom this method of guiding this organization will flow forth purely by spiritual power. That's what goes through. Subsequently, as we all know, Sri Ramakrishna passed away. And then these young monks started living the lives of austerity according to traditional monasticism. What is uncommon in all of them is this depth and fervor of aspiration. In the Gospel, it's recorded, Rakhal Raja Maharaj is telling M, the author, don't waste any more time. Plunge deep into spiritual practice. How can I describe the state of my mind? This noon, I felt a yearning to go to the Narmada and practice austerity. Nothing can be achieved without diving deep into meditation. The outside world is full of distractions. Even Sukadeva, the pure and ever free one, was afraid of distractions of the world. And then he mentions this urge for solitude, to plunge deep into himself and gather the truths of spiritual life. He tells Swamiji Narendranath about his intention of living for some time as a wandering monk, surrendering himself completely to God. The thing is, be it a mystical life or be it an analytical one, it has to be lived. It is not something that one speaks about or even thinks about. It is something that is to be lived on a day-to-day basis. And it is this urge to go into solitude that is coming up here. Swamiji agreed, Narendranath agreed, but suggested that Swami Subodhananda, Koka Maharaj, go with him and look after him. Because of his deep love for Maharaj, Swami Brahmananda, Swamiji was always concerned for his welfare and wished him to have someone who would minister to his comforts. Maharaj could not refuse his brother's wish, so he and Swami Subodhananda left together for Benares. They stayed there for a month. From Benares, they went on to the temple of Omkarnath, situated on the bank of the Narmada, referring to Omkareshwar here. A couple of hours from Indore. It's still a very austere and spiritually uplifting environment. People say that Shankara got his monastic vows from his guru there. Here, amidst the charming natural surroundings, today there is a dam nearby, but in those days, none of that. There was this stream, Narmada. It goes around that island on both sides and flows forth. Here, amidst the charming natural surroundings, Maharaj lived continuously in Nirvikalpa Samadhi for 6 days and 6 nights, completely unconscious of the outside world. When at last he came back to normal consciousness, his face shone with a heavenly joy. He had experienced God in the impersonal, absolute aspect and had realized the identity of the Atman with the Brahman. We'll stop here, but take a moment to reflect on this, that a person who picks up this path of devotion continues following the path of devotion, and it culminates in this Brahma Atma Aikya. which is something that we traditionally associate with the path of knowledge. The point being stressed here is that it's not important what path one follows. The goal is exactly this. We express it in different languages. We follow different paths to it. Who is a better exemplar amongst the first generation disciples of the path of devotion than Swami Brahmananda? And here clearly shows that this path followed to the hilt culminates in the same goal as that which is followed by Gyanis. And it is here that the final synthesis, the final harmony between the lives of these two great disciples, Swami Brahmananda and Swami Vivekananda, one proceeds through the sheer analytical willpower towards this goal. The other, through ecstatic joy, reaches the same goal. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Namaste.